Ahava Felicidad, and I'm a holistic hair healer of Ahava Felicidad Hair and Body, and an educator to the Bridge Advanced Academy, which is in Union, New Jersey. You're seeing video now. We're here live at the Extension Expo 2014, and I am going to demonstrate some tree braiding. There are about at least 3 different ways to tree braid. The technique can sometimes be a little challenging. What I've done is I've taken one strand already of this free tress bulk hair. This is a bohemian braid. I actually recently had a client who did this style, and I've done 2 rotations already on the mannequin. And it's a process of actually pulling out strands or pieces in a waterfall technique in order to create your cornrow. So I'm going to fold a piece in and leave it out, and I'm going to go 1 rotation. Now this is something you have to learn how to do to the left and to the right based on the client's hair, and this mannequin actually is a little bit of a textured hair mannequin. So getting this first piece in lays the foundation. So here I'm going to take another piece. I'm going to lay this piece in and continue braiding, and you can just make sure that they're at the same length. And as you go along the cornrow, it tightens. You may not have to keep adding pieces. So this is a technique that's not shown or seen as much as the technique where you start with a bulk of hair at the front. But I do like this one. It allows more fluid movement for me. And it does get thicker as you go along the braid. You want to hold this piece over. If you need to, you can use clips, but normally if you're in a client's hair, you wouldn't really have to do so much of that. Now, because I've already inserted a few pieces, I'm going to look at the 3 that are here so far, so you can see that those are on the braid. This is good spacing, but when you work with your client, you'll know. So there will be several rows of these, and 1 row will fall in between the others, so they do not have to all be even pinkies width apart. One could be a pinky, one could be an index finger, and then as you go up, they'll be layered. I'm going to go ahead and add another piece. And I am going to add this piece along the bottom. And continue this cornrow, make sure that's even. There's
tree braiding
science, and then there's the intuitive, because intuitively you may place a piece underneath. This is something that you would have to learn in terms of symmetry. So I'm going to bring that piece from the bottom. I'm going to grab another piece and lay that piece in. Let it fall even with the others, and then continue the cornrow. And at this point, most of this is the extension hair, so I'm going to grab a few more of these. And of course, you have to know how to cornrow to do this technique. If you do not know how to cornrow, we can teach you how to do that as well. Another rotation, and because this, you'll feel for the pieces. So this is the same one. We're not going to pull this out because that would cause slippage. This piece, however, is tight. So I can pull this piece out and continue braiding without having to add another piece. This is the part where you have to just feel what you're doing, and then you may not use as much hair. Again, here's a piece here. It is from one of the pieces in the front. I'm going to pull this piece out and then continue the cornrow. This can be done with a lot more strands, but you always want to ask your client how they intend to wear their hair. Because some people are going to get tree braids in and they're just going to wear them straight. So you don't have to use any Some clients want to actually do ponytails and have a lot of fluid movement. In that case, you would have more pieces along every section. So you always want to say, how do you plan to wear it? And if they're not sure, and they may want to wear it in more than one way, you definitely have to add a piece per pinky or index finger.
Tree braiding.
Is it tree braiding? I was going to say.
So you're just laying pieces in. Now this is not the tree braiding that you see most often on video. The technique that I use, and I can't say that I've seen anyone else do this technique, it just works better for me in terms of laying the pieces in. A lot of the tree braiding that you see starts out with the bulk of hair at the beginning, and then you pull pieces out. I found that it's easier to actually begin and lay a piece in and braid, and lay a piece in and braid. Turn it this way. Okay. Yeah. So it's what I call, non-traditional tree braiding. And why? Most often because you're going to have, naturally different hair textures and different lengths. So you have to be able to work through those textures and those lengths in different ways. And this technique allows for you to add more pieces. So I like this a lot better, adding one piece at a time. It gives the look more of like a crochet weave than the traditional tree braiding. I haven't named it. I know that it's still tree braiding, but the technique itself, I've not seen anyone else do it other than me.
So you just put that over,
And I just I will really, based on the person's head, just intuitively know which pieces to pull out. And you always do a little bit of a tug to make sure that this piece isn't the one that's going to slide from the front of it as you're braiding down.
Do you always do the whole head, or just sometimes you want like...
For tree braids, I've always only done a full head. Crochet, I've done partials. But it is something where you can just do a partial, like just across the front. If you do this technique, you can do whatever you want with this. So you lay a piece in, you could close it off across the top and just have like a fro hawk in the front and do braids in the back. Like when I do my own crochet, I often just do two pieces here, like the crochet I do. Tree braid the same way. Now, one of the really important things is who you would do this for. You would tree braid for someone who has like very fine, thin, kinky hair. Crochet braiding may be too much for them, and traditional weaving on the weft may be too heavy for their scalp and their hair. So I offer this for clients who have fine hair, fine straight, fine kinky curly, where the fiber is so light and you're doing a nice corner where you're adding pieces, it's intertwined. This is also recommended for those who are going to have a high level of activity. They swim, they're working out, and they want to be able to move their hands with their hair in a way that's different than crochet. This is attached. If you talk about certain crochet pieces too much, they're going to slide because they're meant to just work in very gently. This gives you more fluid movement, and it feels like a weave. It's really attached to your hair. So then I just pull this piece out, continue braiding down. And what I will do, and it still depends on the person's head, how they plan to wear it, how long their hair is leave out the braids at the end from here. Then this becomes the next traditional technique that most people see in tree braiding, is where you're braiding and you're pulling out the pieces along the strand and you just braid down. So this would be the individual and this would be the cornrow. So I say there's three techniques: the one that I've created, and then the one that you see more often. Yep, and that you can see on my site because I recently did a tree braid session for a client. So you can learn this with me at the Bridge Academy. January 18th is the next class. So you can sign up if you're a stylist, Now someone else, this will stay, but I do like to go ahead, and this will stay only because of this texture. And this is where you see the light tying technique. So you can bring your pieces here, you grab a few strands, and you just tie them. So I'm going to take two from the middle, together. I'll do about 3 spots. And then you just kind of smooth it down. Now mostly I do this with textured hair. There is a favorite technique with the smooth kanekelon braiding hair, which we have packs of as well. I work a lot with the curly, wavy, the texture in terms of ease with styling. But this would just be like one row. But you know where to lay the pieces. So there's one here. Usually I will have just mostly all across the top, but on blending and volume, I like to throw in a piece every now and then along the bottom of the corner. And you do the same thing. Now this can be done just easily from the front. Yeah, just going straight back. Yeah, but then on a crochet technique, you can do so many different things on crochet. I like to do circles.
So could you do tree braiding mixed with crochet? Like maybe do tree braiding in the back, like in...
Yes, of course. And the same thing too, like if you're doing cylinders or microlinking.
Yeah.
Now you can do custom, there's custom kinky microlinks and cylinders
That's
too.
what I was wondering too, because
Why
like
actually make those? Those can be made and those are installed. So cylinders, if you wanted to create a look like this, cylinders can